Good evening, friendly talker. Friendly talker says, "Excuse me while I study up so I don't get all the wrong answers." LOL. Robert Lee Yates is tonight's trivia. Robert Lee Yates, American serial killer from the Spokane, Washington. If you're looking at the state of Washington, says the cell phone is the state of Washington. This would be the West Coast. This would be the eastern side, West side, East side. So Spokane is up here by where approximately where my fingers give you kind of a reference to where it is. But our current governor Inslee abolished the death penalty in Washington State forever. It can never come back. Well, I mean, it could come back, but it would take a hell of a lot of work to get it done. Is it working now? Well, the internet, yes. The internet is and our services are back where they were. Juicy Jules, good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. Little Linda, Kitty Coo, Cement Shoes. Good evening to everyone and welcome to tonight's trivia. All the questions tonight are, as you can see on the scroll from the bottom of the screen, are on Robert Lee Yates, American serial killer. He is from Gig Harbor area, Grays Harbor, and he also lived in Spokane, Washington. Dawn Marie, 001 Will. Good evening, Dawn Marie, and welcome to tonight's trivia. Glad everyone could be here with me tonight. Give it a couple more minutes here, and then we'll get the trivia going. Waiting for everybody to get their notifications, and log in. Rackart, you're 105 degrees outside in Phoenix today. Well, it's a cooling trend in Phoenix. I don't miss Arizona at all. I used to go to Arizona once a year. My godparents, I grew up in Wisconsin, and my godparents, when they got older and they retired, they moved to Phoenix, and when Phoenix, Arizona, and we used to go down and like see all the tourist spots like old Tucson and and other places like that. But I don't miss the heat. I that was the first time I ever saw a fruit tree though. Never saw a fruit tree. I mean, I knew apples and oranges and stuff like that grew on trees, but I never actually physically saw one growing up where I was when I was a kid. And we went out there to visit them the first time. They had a grapefruit tree and an orange tree, and they're like, "Go ahead, pick as many as you want and eat them." And I did, and I made myself sick. I ate so much damn grapefruit and oranges. It was good though. Good evening, Left-Handed RN, and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. I think I was probably like 8 or 9 when we went out there the first time. But we went every year. It was like our family vacation. We didn't go if we went to the Grand Canyon. We would stop there first and get them, and then they come to the Grand Canyon with us. But it was always like a pilgrimage, and we always drove. Piled all the kids into a 1970s, pea green with that fake wood paneling station wagon. He had the third row, in the trunk that actually looked out the back window, so it was rear facing. That was always a trip. All right, another 10 seconds and we'll get this going. Well, at least it's dry heat. Well, up here where I am, Rackart, it's been raining all day. Grocery getter? Yeah, right. All right, let's get the trivia going tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 310th episode of True Crime Trivia Night. 310. Viewer discretion is strongly advised for all the content you will hear and see on this stream and channel. None of this content is marketed or aimed at anyone under the age of 16 and is restricted on YouTube, the original airing platform, to 16 years of age plus. All right, first I wanted to cover something. Chad Daybell was found guilty, obviously, of the murder of Tammy and JJ and Tylee, and has been sentenced to die in the state of Idaho for his part in it. Of course, immediately after the prosecution team, made their press conference, his attorney did say, Mr. Pryor, that he will be appealing not only the sentence but the actual verdict itself. So Idaho does have an active capital punishment. The last time they used a capital punishment in Idaho was 2017. There are 2 inmates who are currently on death row in Idaho who have been there well over 25 years. But their appeals they haven't run out of appeals yet, even at 25 years. During the actual verdict for guilty and the sentencing part of it, Chad was given 2 opportunities to say something in his defense to mitigate the actual part of the sentencing. He said nothing. He just kept his hands together and like clasped together and on his lap. And when the microphone, Mr. Pryor moved the microphone to him, the only thing he said was, no, he has nothing to say. But the state of Idaho has 2 different options for putting him to death: lethal injection or the firing squad that they reinstated a couple of years ago because of the fact that they're having issues obtaining enough phenobarbital to actually aid in the lethal injection itself. So in case that ever happens, they'll never have an issue again. Oh, we can't get the phenobarbital. I guess you just have to wait until we get it. No, now they have the firing squad. Hanging was outlawed, banished in the state of Idaho in 2009. But Chad will most likely die before all his appeals run out. If you add 30 years to his current life, and they say that for every 5 years that you serve in prison, it takes a good 2 years off your life because they don't actually get what they call the best quality food or medical services. But again, on top of it, he was also convicted and found guilty of insurance fraud, and they're going to actually set this aside and look at it again later. But he received $100,000 some dollars plus $300,000 for collecting the life insurance policies for Tammy. Obviously, if you murder the person, you have to pay that money back. So too bad for Chad. So what's next for Chad? Well, he'll be moved to Kuna, which is the IMSP at Kuna, which stands for the Idaho Maximum Security Prison at Kuna. He will get himself a nice fancy new uniform, 2 white t-shirts, 3 pairs of state issue underwear, 2 pairs of socks, 1 pair of shower shoes, a plastic bag with hygiene items in it, which is like a travel thing of toothpaste, a finger toothbrush that you actually slide on your finger. It's got a little stubby, handle, so it can't be used as a weapon. 1 free Bible, and then they will go through all his personal effects that he has collected up since he's been in jail and while on trial, and they will go through and discard anything that they do not want to allow him into the prison. Now, they're not going to go through his paperwork. They're going to give him all of his paperwork, and they can't actually go through and read his actual notes or anything like that. That'd be a violation. But they can go through and say, okay, this is not gang affiliate stuff without having to read it and then then hand him the stack of papers. He will then be given what's called a complete medical and mental health screening. Every inmate, it's part of the intake process at Kuna and all state prisons in the state of Idaho. It doesn't matter if it's minimum security work camp, all the way up to the maximum security where he is going to be. He will be in maximum security for the rest of his life. He will then will get what's called a TAN code. That there is no actual real name for this process. It's what the inmates call it because it's on a tan piece of paper. But the TAN code, which is an inmate assessment code based on his risk, his needs, his mental health, his gang affiliation, prior arrest, and education. And that comes up with a total score for where they need to move him on death row. Closer to where he can be supervised, more scrutiny or less, depending on where in death row they'll move him. He will then be moved to a secured housing area that is next to death row, where he'll be watched closely for the first week that he's actually there at Kuna to make sure that he doesn't accidentally Epstein himself. And that is because statistically, after the punishment and sentencing has come down and the inmate finds that they're never going home and they're going to die in prison or the state's going to execute them, whatever, a lot of them start to, once that realization hits, they do self-harm themselves. That's why he won't be moved directly to death row the day one that he gets there. He'll be moved to a housing unit where they can watch him closely, and they do rounds and personally check on his welfare, along with there's cameras that actually watch him at all times. He will be on lockdown 23/1, 23 hours a day. He'll be on lockdown when he's in this area. Along with death row, he gets a little bit down the road. He'll get a little more flexibility, but otherwise 23 hours a day lockdown. He will never be going home, and he will not go past go, nor will he collect his $200. All right, tonight's trivia is on Robert Lee Yates, a torturer and serial rapist and stalker who has been, yes, the scroll that's earlier on the screen showed, he has been sentenced to life without parole plus 70 years. He was originally sentenced to die by lethal injection in Washington State for the murders that he committed, but he was sent back to court to be resentenced, and that's what he got was life without parole plus 70 years after Governor Inslee abolished the death penalty in Washington State. Good evening, Tamara. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Question number 1 is now on your screen, and getting me in my little window. Hello, Will in his little window. Chad is part of the Doomsday Cult, after all. He definitely is doomed. Da-da-da. Good one, Reckart. All right, question number 1 of 20 is now on your screen. The total number of victims of Robert Lee Yates will never be known. He has refused all attempts to speak with law enforcement. What is the believed total according to the FBI? We're looking for the total number that the FBI believes that Robert Lee Yates murdered. Please do not take the number on Wikipedia. And if you're going to, quickly, jump on Wikipedia to look this up, I have submitted 3 different corrections on the Wikipedia site alone for Robert Lee Yates. It's ridiculous. People send these things in and they edit, Wikipedia pages, and I think they think it's funny. But some of the information online is wrong, so just go with that. Pippadot, good evening, Pippadot. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. And Lori Powell, good evening, Lori Powell, and welcome to trivia. Gemma, good evening. I'm sorry if I missed anybody else while I was yammering away over here. Question number one. What is the believed total of victims of Robert Lee Yates, according to the FBI? So great to see you, Will. I'm having problems finding your videos. Oh, no. Oh, no, Pippadot. I'm sorry. Well, I'm changing my answer to, I'm going with B. You mentioned me on me, Gemma? You mentioned me on a stream earlier. Well, that's cool. Dawn Marie and Purple. Good evening, Purple, and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you and your hubby are doing as best you can. Scrolling up here to make sure I didn't miss anybody else. Sherry, good evening, Sherry, and welcome to tonight's trivia. Rackart drums. Drum roll, please. Lemon Pie, good evening, Lemon Pie. Welcome to tonight's trivia as well. Well, if I missed anybody else, I'm sorry. If I didn't say hello, I tried to say hello to everyone. Willy Wonka and the 401 Trivia Shop. What is the believed total of victims according to the FBI? All right, question number one. The correct answer is C as in cat. Only 18 victims. The FBI does not dabble in conjecture. They only go with factual evidence that supports that he was the murderer of an individual. They don't go, well, his victim total might be 20, and maybe as high as 34. No, they only go with what is factually being able to be proven, and it's 18 is what they know that he most likely, that he was the person who killed 18. Oh, I need to educate myself on this case. Uh-oh. Meow, little Linda. All right, question number two. Growing up, Robert was surrounded by violence. According to court records, Robert's first run-in with the law happened at the age of 12. What was he charged with? Was it A, robbery, B, A, murder, B, armed robbery, C, petty theft of less than $50, or D, stealing a car? Growing up, Robert was surrounded by violence. According to court records, Robert's first run-in with the law happened at the age of 12. What was he charged with? Kitty Q is going with C, question mark, right card C, Dawn Marie D, question mark? I don't know. All serial killers must shop at the same optometrist for glasses. Damn, they're all the same style. Well, I don't know about before they go to prison, but once they're in prison, they get what's called state issue glasses. And just like everyone who's in the armed services, when you get to boot camp or after enlisting, they give you a certain style of frame. You get one choice, and that's it. They're and what we used to call them well, I'm trying to think of the nicest way to put this. Birth control glasses. because no woman would want to touch somebody who wore these black frame glasses that they used to have. Oh, he does look like Dennis Rader in that picture. Yeah, there's definitely a similarity there. All right, question number 2. The correct answer is C as in cat. Petty theft, less than $50. They dropped the charge down to a misdemeanor, and he was to repay a $100 fine, and that included court costs. And what did he steal? He stole a letterman's jacket from another student. At the age of 12, he stole it. And apparently the jacket didn't even belong to that student. It belonged to their brother. And they were just wearing it. Robert stole it, and he got caught with it. Why did he do it? I don't know. You have to ask him. Dumb thing to do, because most of those things have like their names on them or whatever. But maybe he just wanted it. Question number 3. Sadistic in nature with every one of his murders, what was the number one thing Robert did with every victim that psychologists agree was the great real motivator for him? Was it A, physical torture, B, psychological torture, C, sexual torture, or D, Jersey Shore marathons from Blockbuster Video? Sadistic in nature with every one of his murders, what was the number one thing Robert did with every victim that psychologists agree was the great real motivator for him? Little Linda, D or C? Pippa B. Lemon Pie. Friendly talker Gianna Marie, and good evening, Gianna Marie. Rycart and Kittiku are all going with B. And Dawn Marie is going with B as well. Really a guess for you. Purple Meep. Good evening, Meep. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Question number 3 of 20. But Purple and Meep are going with C. All right, question number 3. The correct answer is B as in boy. B as in boy. Psychological torture. He wanted to do, and each and every victim that he ever, ended up killing, he told them exactly what he was going to do with them and how he was going to do it and how he was going to enjoy every aspect of it. And some of them he dragged out for 20 minutes. Other ones he dragged out for hours before he actually ended up murdering them. But every one of them, drugs were involved in some point in it, in itself. Get them high, get them vulnerable, and then tell them that he's going to murder them, and this is what he's going to do with them, and everything else. It was psychological. He got off on the psychological torture of these women. But B as in boy. He looks young. This picture here is a mugshot of him. He's younger. Question number 4. I want to be stereotyped. I want to be classified. I want a suburban home. Suburban home. When was Robert Lee Yates born? Was it A, May 27th, 1952, B, March 20th, 1953, C, April 19th, 1951, or D, June 19th, 1970? When was Robert Lee born? How old was he? Pippadop for what? Which part? When he first started murdering? I don't know. I don't even think the FBI is 100% sure of when his first victim was and the age that he was. I'd have to go back and actually read my notes, which I don't have. Excuse me, I don't have in front of me. Excuse me. First murders. Yeah. He was, I believe, in his 30s, late 20s, early 30s, just like the stereotypical, MO for serial killers. But I don't know exactly how old he was. Friendly talker, A? Question mark. Gianna Marie, CA. It's okay. I'll Google it later. I can Google it now. How old was Robert Lee Yates at first murder? 22. He was 22 years of age. And then he committed, that was in 1970-ish. Okay, I got to answer the question first. All right, so when was Robert Lee Yates born? Robert Lee Yates, for question number 4, the correct answer is A as in apple, May 27th, 1952. Now to go back to answer the question, at 22 years of age, his first daughter was born at 22 years and 5 months. It is when he committed his first murder. At 23, he started working in a penitentiary. Yeah. All right, question number 5. Before Robert was born, his grandfather would commit a series of crimes that would eventually lead to the death murder of who? Was it A, the murder of his uncle Robert, B, the murder of his niece Roberta, C, the murder of his brother Michael, or D, the murder of his grandmother? Before Robert was born, his grandfather would commit a series of crimes that would eventually lead to the death murder of who? Lieutenant RN, Lemon Pie, and Gianna Marie are all going with D. So is little Linda. Tamara is going with the Cookie Monster. Cookies. Cookies. Ooh, Lori and Friendly Talker, Dawn Marie, and Rykar are all going with D as well. D seems to be a very popular answer for this one. Meep and Sherry are both going with D. Cookie. Question number 5 of 20. Before Robert was born, his grandfather would commit a series of crimes that would eventually lead to the death murder of who? The correct answer is D as in dog. The murder of his grandmother. First, he beat her. He beat her viciously over the series of 2 days before he would eventually murder her. Now, this happened before Robert was ever born. But as he grew up as a teenager, he watched violence everywhere around him. But not only his father, but other members of the family who were always getting into physical altercations with other people. And so violence was nothing new to Robert growing up from a little boy onward. All right, question number 6. Talk about a twist of faith. Robert once worked as a correctional officer overseeing prisoners he would one day be housed with. What prison was this at? Was it A, Walla Walla State Penitentiary, B, Oak Harbor Corrections, C, McNeil Island Corrections, or D, Oregon State Penitentiary? His grandson didn't fall far from the tree, and no, he didn't. Lieutenant Rand, Tamara, Lemon Pie, Little Linda, and me are all going with A. Oh, and Pip Dot, Gianna Marie, and Kitty Coo and Friendly Talker all go with A as well. A seems to be a popular one. D last time, A this time. E, Chick-fil-A. E, Ackerman Asylum. His corrections officer now. That's horrific. Question number 6 of 20. Talk about a twist of fate. Robert once worked as a corrections officer overseeing prisoners he would one day be housed with. Where was this? Meet like saying Walla Walla. Walla Walla is a Native American name. Walla Walla, Chief Walla Walla. Walla Walla State Penitentiary is approximately 117 miles from me. Walla Walla. I'm a lot closer to Coyote Ridge prison than I am to Walla Walla. And there are world famous Walla Walla sweet onions you can buy in your grocery store. They're a variant of a yellow white onion. They're not really yellow. They're not really a white onion. They're in between, and they have the taste of an onion, but they have a slight sweetness to them. And it's genetically grown into the onion itself. It's not like they add something to it, like a syringe full of sugar. All right, question number 6. The correct answer is A as in apple. Walla Walla State Penitentiary. And I almost gave away that answer earlier. So he is between the age of 22 and 23 years of age. His daughter is born at that time, and then he started working at the Walla Walla State Penitentiary. And this summer, so early summer, May, June-ish, he started working at the penitentiary, and then not even like 3 months into the job, while he is working there at the Walla Walla State Penitentiary, he commits his first murder. So 22 and a half to 23 years of age, right in there is when he committed the first murder. We know who the first victim is. Her name is Susan Savage, and so she was the first victim. There was actually 2 victims that day, but we'll get into that as we go on. Nasty. Thin mints and olives do not go together. I gotta brush my teeth. Ugh. I like Thin Mints though. I like those. They have those really thin Oreos. Those are good. Those are. I can see how somebody could get an addiction of those suckers. I'm not a big Oreo fan, but those things they just have just enough of that Oreo flavor to them, and they're like light and crispy. All right, question number 7. Robert Yates actually served his country in the Army and Reserves. In fact, he was a reservist when he was arrested for murder. What was his rank at the time of arrest? Was it A, a master sergeant, B, a gunnery sergeant, C, a chief warrant officer, or D, a private first class? Robert Yates actually served his country in the Army and Reserves. In fact, he was a reservist when he was arrested for murder. What was his rank at the time of arrest? Lemon Pie is going with C. Pippadot D. Kitty A? Question mark. I don't know. It could be. Gianna Marie C. A friendly talker is going with D. He honorably served in the United States Army and was actually drawing his retirement pension from the Army because they actually gave it to him early, not because of a medical condition or anything else, but they just were downsizing the size of the United States military at the time. And he said, "Yeah, I'm eligible for it, so I'll take the early retirement, full benefits." But then a couple of years later, he went back and signed back up as a reservist because he liked the lifestyle and he liked what he was doing. Holy crap! I never knew Charles Manson was a Scientologist. What in the Tom Cruise fuckery? I didn't know Charles Manson was into Scientology either. I know he was in Sergeant Schultz, Abadot or Kabadat from Hogan's Heroes. Sergeant Schultz. He was the big bumbling, guard on Hogan's Heroes. In case you all don't remember the TV show Hogan's Heroes. Don't know if that ever went into syndication, but I used to watch it when I was young. Colonel Klink. All right. What was Robert Lee Yates' rank at the time he was arrested for murder? He was the correct answer is C as in cat, a chief warrant officer. At the time of his arrest, he was the week that he was arrested. The very following week after that is when he was supposed to show back up for his reservist like training, additional training. He was a helicopter pilot. He flew all kinds of helicopters, small ones, big ones, you name it. He was proficient at all of them. You were cleaning up your olives and thin mince fiasco. Better. He was higher class than that than I thought. Wow, what's a warrant officer do? Issue warrants? No. It's just the name, Peppadot, for the rank. But he was a chief warrant officer in the Army Reserves at the time of his arrest. Question number, that one I left blank. Question number 8. Generals gather in their masses, just like witches at black masses. How many children does Robert Lee Yates have with his wife, Linda? Is it A, 7, B, 5, C, 3, or D, 6? How come he couldn't control himself? Me wants to know. I don't know. I guess, it might be compulsion. And Kirikou is going with Ozzy. Ozzy and Black Sabbath is where generals gather in their masses, just like witches at black masses. A lot of serial killers can't control it. They try. There is a certain section of serial killers that do, a lot of self deprivation, after they commit the crimes, the murders. They hate themselves. They beat themselves up over it. They can't believe they're doing it, but at the same time, they're like drawn to it, like a moth to a bright light. They just can't get away from it. They don't try hard enough. Some of them do. Some have tried very hard. Tried changing jobs, locations, and everything else to try to stop. It's just something within inside them that draws them back to it, brings them back into the fold to it all. But I'm not a psychologist, so you'd have to ask them why they can't leave things like that. Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe they have an addiction to murdering people. I don't know. But how many children does Robert Lee Yates have with his wife, Linda? Question number 8. The correct answer is B as in boy. He has 5 children with his wife, Linda. 5. Question number 9. I'm just a gigolo, and everywhere I go, people know the part I'm playing, selling selling each romance. Which one was a ruse Robert used to lure women? Was it A, single father looking for romance? B, single male, no kids? C, just an average John? Or D, creepy Barry Morphew fan? I'm just a gigolo, and everywhere I go, people know the part I'm playing, selling each romance. Which one was a ruse Robert used to lure women? Damn, a bikini waxer. Ooh, C seems to be a popular one. Lieutenant RN, Kitty Q, Ride Card, Gianna Marie, and Friendly Talker, and Meep are all going C. Wow, I took a big guess at this one. Little Linda and is going with A, and Sherry is going with C. Kitty DLR. Which one was a ruse that Robert used to lure women? With all those kids, I just imagine A. Laurie's going with C, and so is Purple. Question number 9. The correct answer is C as in cat. Every one of his victims after number 1 and 2, excluding the first 2 victims, every single victim of Robert Lee Yates was a prostitute and a drug addict after the first 2 victims. Number 1 and number 2 are such outliers. It's unbelievable how vastly different the first 2 murders were from all of the rest. And according to the FBI, the next 16 murders, to be exact, all took place the same way, in the same method, the same everything. But they were prostitutes and drug addicts. All right. Y'all got it right. Question number 10. Oops. Robert Lee Yates. Yates dropped down the line for some reason. Robert was obsessed with prostitutes and their lifestyle. He stalked them. He watched them work and fantasized about what while he waited them to come back to the strip. What did he fantasize about? Was it A, killing them, B, torturing them, C, having sex with them, or D, taking them out to dinner, date night? Robert was obsessed with prostitutes and their lifestyle. He stalked them. He watched them work and fantasized about what? Kitiku is going with B, question mark. Lori Powell, B as well. Jude, good evening, Jude. Just a dickolo, and everywhere I go, people drop dead around me. And that's good, Tamara. B, Friendly Talker, Little Linda, Rykart, and Sherry are all going with B as well. Question number 10. Ooh, purple's going with C. DLR is his helicopter over my house all the time. Department of Land Management. Is that what the DLR is? It makes me want to cry. Tamara says doing their taxes. He fantasized about doing their taxes. I can see him being a big guy thinking about dinner out. Robert was obsessed with prostitutes and their lifestyle. He stalked them. He watched them work. He fantasized about what? The correct answer to question number 10, ladies and gentlemen, is B as in boy, torturing them. Now, this doesn't do it justice, so I'm going to go over a little bit of the notes. So for one of his victims, she went by the street name of Izzy, Izzzy, Izzy. It was one of his victims. All right. He watched her and he took meticulous notes, handwritten notes about every John that she was with, what she was wearing, how she was acting to catch that John's attention over other women who were working the strip. And he finally, when he decided to make his move, he punished her psychologically and physically for what he saw was her transgressions as working as a prostitute, that she wasn't doing enough out there to get enough work to catch the attention of these Johns. And when he was caught, these notes were found in the trunk of his car. He kept notes on these interactions where he'd watch them work. He'd watch them eat, when they went to the bathroom, what hotel they used, what rooms did they favor, second floor or first floor. He wrote all these things down about every single one of the 16, not number one, not number two, but the next 16. It wasn't just something he did on the spur of the moment, like, oh, I'm gonna go kill a couple prostitutes tonight. No, not Robert Lee Yates. He planned it all. He's a nutty note taker. Yes, he was. All right, that is the first 10 questions. So now it is time for us to take a 6-minute break. Do what you need to do. Make a sandwich, get a cup of tea, smoke a bowl. I don't care. You do you for the next 6 minutes. And then we'll be back. Smoke them if you got them. And I didn't even come close to the trash can. I bounced it right off the wall and missed the trash can by about 3 feet. Break time. Time to warm up your dinners. Get it go. Drink a beer. LOL. Got my sweet tea. I have tea tonight, Pippadot. It's kind of like an iced tea, but there's no sugar in it. It's just Earl Grey. That I buy like Constant Common Earl Grey, and we throw it in the pitcher and make like sun tea with it. But we don't even put it in the sun. We just take the whole thing and stick it right in the refrigerator. Takes about a day and a half, but then you get tea. I'm a retired sheriff's deputy, and I should be better at this. Well, Lori, thank you for your service to God and your country and your community. Mad respect for you. You love watermelon with salt. Ooh. If you smoke after sex, you did it too fast. LOL. Rackart is eating watermelon. Well, that's probably a good thing, man. If it's 105 degrees outside where you are, Rackart, you got to keep that those electrolytes and and water in your system, especially at that heat. My mastiff will tackle you for watermelon. My watermelon plants so far this year, they're only about 2 feet long. They've already started to put out their little twisty bobs or whatever they call them that latch on to every other damn thing that they're not supposed to. I have a question. Why didn't Lori Vallow receive the death penalty? Friendly talker. It comes down to if they would have sought the death penalty for Lori, she would have most likely won that on appeal, and that would cost the taxpayers in the state of Idaho more money and the sheer fact is that she has mental health issues, and that the mental health would have been a easy win for the striking it down, and they would have just then this said, okay, you can't have the death penalty because you were mentally ill, probably then when these crimes are committed, and during the actual first part of the trial. So we'll just commute it back to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But it would have been an easy win for them on appeal. I second friendly talker's question. I made strawberry shortcake with angel food cake this morning. Ooh, that sounds good. I haven't had strawberry shortcake in a long time. Pound cake is easy to make though. Pound of this, pound of that, pound of this. Did you see Robert De Niro act as a fool the other day when he endorsed inflatable Biden Harris? Nope, I did not see that, Reichardt. I'm convinced she killed Joe Ryan and her brother Alex. Well, she may not have pulled the trigger and shot, Joseph Ryan, but they slowly killed him from the inside out by, not allowing him to spend, any time with his daughter, and made up, horrible, horrible lies about him and spread it throughout their community. So he was pretty much ostracized from everybody and everything that was dear to him. And they did it because it was all for themselves. And then Chad just, Chad came along, and well, that they had to get rid of Charles. Got to get rid of him. Can't have him around. And look where it got Chad and Lori. Now, don't forget, at the same time, though, while they're in prison, before they were ever caught, and they were off in Hawaii, we learned that Lori and Chad had a predetermined date that they were both going to Epstein themselves and leave this world so they could lead the others to the other side of the veil. Now that date has come and gone because Lori was extradited back from Hawaii, and they missed that date. Chad was still out free at that time when the date came, but do the two of them, if they're able to communicate with each other, because now that all the cases except for Arizona with Lori down there is over with, and they both know that they have life in prison, with no chance of leaving. Are they going to communicate with each other and pick another date in the future where they will, take themselves out of the picture? We know. Trump needs to pick De Niro's butt in the UFC match. Becomes the filling in a convict meat sandwich. Oh, wow. Got 1 minute left. Trump needs to kick De Niro's ass. Until Chad meets his new boyfriend. He ain't gonna have a lot of socialization time in prison, Pippadot. He'll be on lockdown, death row. As long as he's a death row inmate, he'll be on lockdown. Right now, he's gonna, for the first week while he's there, he's gonna be on lockdown 23 hours a day, 1 hour out and for recreation and for shower every day. And it's either you do one or the other. Either you go outside to a metal cage where you're one on one. There's nobody else in the cage with you, where nobody else can get to you. You can't harm them and they can't harm you. Or you take a shower. Laundry is picked up right from their cell and it's handed through the door, or they wash it in their sinks or toilet. All right. We're back from our break, ladies and gentlemen. Question number 11 is now on your screen. Every victim of Robert Lee Yates was killed using the same method. This item was just part of his torture and kill kit. What was the weapon he used to kill them all? Was it A, a rope, B, a knife, C, a bazooka, or D, a handgun? Chad won't get to be anyone's hamburger helper. He gets his own suite on death row. Yep. Until unless the verdict is over, the sentencing is overthrown, and they decide that they remove the death penalty, or Idaho does what Washington State did and abolish the death penalty for everyone on death row and convert their sentences to life in prison. Little Linda, Gianna Marie, and Friendly Talker, Rykart, and Meep are all going with D. Cameron is going with aggressive bed bugs. Pippadot is going with D as well. Purple D. Every victim, and this counts all of them, even number 1 and number 2. The first 2 victims were killed using the same weapon as the last one. Bad idea. Sherry is going with D as well. Every single victim was killed with the same weapon. Was it a rope, a knife, a bazooka, or a handgun? Question number 11 of 20. Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer to question number 11 is D as in dog. Every single victim from the first one to the last one was shot at close range with a Raven 25 caliber handgun. A Raven 25 caliber handgun. A lead pipe in a ballroom with Miss Scarlet. We're going to play a little clue. Tyranny, good evening, Tyranny, and welcome to tonight's trivia. Question number 12 is on the screen. Another one where it dropped down his last name. We are scanning the scene in a city tonight. We are looking for you to start up a fight. There is evil feeling in our brains. Arrested for murder in 1998. What year did Robert Lee Yates commit his first murder? Was it A, 1969, B, 1975, C, 1990, or D, 1997? We are scanning the scene in the city tonight. We are looking for you to start up a fight. There is evil feeling in our brain. Arrested for murder in 1998, what year did Robert Lee Yates commit his first murder? Never been to Raven? Never heard of Raven. The Raven, it's a brand of handgun. They're not the best, but they're not the worst handgun either. I've shot a couple. I've never owned one though. Lemon pie in the year 2525. Will man still be alive? Meat, 14 pounds of pull. We'll do it. Sherry's going with a B. Friendly Talker is going with A. And Reichardt going with B as well. Now I got that song in my head, Lemon Pie. Ah. Yeah, 2525. Will man still be alive? Oh. That's the guy from Chico and the Man. We are scanning the scene in the city tonight. We are looking for you to start up a fight. There is an evil feeling in our brain. Arrested for murder in 1998. What year did Robert Lee Yates commit his first murder? Question 12. The correct answer is B as in boy, 1975. And the first part of that are the lyrics to Seek and Destroy by Metallica. It's the first part of that, of this one. Question 12, Seek and Destroy. Question number 13. Another one where it dropped down. I don't know why it's doing that. That's odd. Initially sentenced to die by lethal injection, he was resentenced after the death penalty in Washington State was struck down. How many years was he resentenced to? Was it A, 408 years, B, 1,109 years, C, 2,050 years, or D, 2 weeks with Barry Morphew? Initially sentenced to die by lethal injection, he was resentenced after death penalty in Washington State was struck down. How many years was he resentenced to? Question number 13 of 20. Should have sentenced him for 2 weeks with Barry Morphew. I wonder if he'd survive that. Zager and Evans. What year did they put that song out? 1969. Talking about the song in the year 2525. As Zager and Evans, they released that song in 1969. Jersey Shore Marathon. D&E says Reichardt 144,000. Better than 2 weeks with Gordon Ramsay. I used to watch some of those Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay. I never got into the competition shows. like Iron Chef or Ramsay's, Hell's Kitchen. I never got, that's not my thing. But the kitchen nightmares and hotel nightmares was, I've seen some of those. They were actually not that bad. Oh, little Linda is going with A. Sherry, okay, I'm going with B, says Sherry. All right, question number 13 of 20. The correct answer is actually A as in apple. 408 years is what his total sentence is. Now, if in realistic terms, it's life without parole plus 70 years. But the total sentence on the actual form itself is 408 years, is what the jury resentenced him to. 408 years. That is life without possibility of parole plus 70 years. I don't know how that even equates to it, because I mean, if you think about, like, okay, is he going to be able to do 100 years? No. Is he going to be able to do 300 years? No. So why give him 400 years, 408 years? What's the point of that? Why don't you just say life without possibility of parole and leave it at that? Why do they have to come up with a number? I don't know. It's just that's just a sentencing the system. All righty, then. Question number 14. When his children were young, Robert took them to see blank, and was actually filmed on Cairo TV. That is a television station out of the Seattle, Washington area. As part of the audience in attendance, fill in the blank. What did he take his children to see, and was actually filmed as part of the audience by Cairo TV? Was it A, Barney and Friends on Ice, B, Disney on Ice, C, live action Blues Clues, or D, dramatic reading of Chad Daybell's books? When his children were young, Robert took them to see blank, and was actually filmed by Cairo TV as part of the audience in attendance. Which one was it? Pippadot, Purple, Tamara, Lemon Pie, Friendly Talker, and Rycar are all going with B, Disney on Ice. For question number 14. Others weren't around back then. Good reasoning. I don't know. Which one would you rather have? The death penalty, or have to be forced to go see a dramatic reading of Chad Daybell's books? Which one would you rather have? A death sentence or a dramatic reading of Chad Daybell's books? Meep is going with A. Little Linda's going with B as well. Gladiator on Ice. Mr. Frosty, good evening. How are you doing, sir? Welcome to tonight's trivia. Rycar is going with E, Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's Pee-wee's Playhouse. Question number 14 of 20. Barney is a freak. Barney the purple dinosaur. My daughter never really got into Barney's when she was younger. She was into Veggie Tales when she was younger, and Teletubbies. Meep is A, Little on the B, and Sherry is going with B as well. Question number 14 of 20. Kitiko, go D, then B. All right, question number 14 of 20. The correct answer is B as in boy, Disney on Ice. and it was at the Seattle City Center, Seattle City Center, and they, as part of the press coverage, somebody spotted that he was in the audience with his children. Um, they had pretty decent seats, but it's kind of like they did like a scan of the audience of people who were there for Disney on Ice, and boom, right there at the aisle, he was right at the aisle end where the walkway is, and then his kids were all lined up next to him, and the next seat's over, and his wife was on the other end. But they had an entire row of just his family, his wife on one end, him on the other, all the kids in the middle. 14 going on 15. 14. All righty, here we go. Question number 15. In the year 2525, will man still be alive? I don't know, but Robert Yates will be out on parole. He will be 455 years old. If he was ever to be released, where would he be released to on parole? Is it A, Seattle, Washington, B, Tacoma, Washington, C, Linwood, Washington, or D, Spokane, Washington? And oddly, we were already on the year 2525, thanks to lemon pie, I think it was. In the year 2525, will man still be alive? I don't know, but Robert Yates will be out on parole, and he'll be 455 years old. If he was ever to be released, where would he be released to? Anna Marie is going with D. Friendly Tucker, D. Lemon Pie, B. Cameron is going with E. On the alien spaceship with L. Ron Hubbard. Ratcard's going with A. Is that a coincidence? Did you have that? I did. That is a quinky dinker, Lemon Pie. I already had this question. These were all made up on the last question was I finished this trivia night on the 30th of last month. Two minds are thinking alike. Pippadot and Sherry are going with A. Little Linda is going with D. Question number 16 of 20. Lemon Pie. He's going to Siberia. Send them to the gulag. All right, question number 16. If he is ever to be released on parole, and when he's 455 years old in the year 2525, he will be released on parole to D as in dog, Spokane, Washington. Why, of those places, that Seattle, Tacoma, Linwood, or Spokane, why would he be released there? Because it's the only place that he has any remaining family, and he would be released to a halfway house, and then he would be eligible to go live with a family member or someplace else like that. But it's the only place left that he has family. Now, I'm guessing that his children won't be alive in 400 plus years from now. But that's where if it was to happen, there may we're going to talk about lots of generations of family who probably wouldn't know who the hell he was if he was ever to live that long. Danny Masterson will be going doing the gyno exams on the alien ship. Oh my god. All right. Question number 17. All aboard. Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as foes. Behind bars now for the rest of his life. Does Robert accept new pen pals in the year 2024? Is it A, yes, 1 or 2 a year? B, no, he is blocked from all mail? Or C, no, he can write but doesn't? Or D, yes, for money he will write back. All aboard! Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as foes. Behind bars now for the rest of his life, does Robert accept new pen pals in 2024? I call anything's possible. As long as you're still alive, anything is possible. Missed 15 and 16. I'll start here, says Kitty Coo. Question number 17. And another one that for some reason it's dropping down to question number. The last part of Yates. I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe it's got to be the way that it's formatting to the screen or something. I don't know. Kitty Coo's going with D, question mark. Rod Cart, Meep are going with D as well. Lemon Pie going with C. Gianna Marie is going with D. Yes, he will write back for money, they say. Ooh, I think Purple's got it. I'm 100% sure that Purple has the correct answer for this one, ladies and gentlemen. We should all follow what Purple got. Sherry's going, oh, wow. Okay, D. Lemon Pie says E, only if they like pina coladas. Yates is looking straight at us. He might be blocked. Who wouldn't for cash? Question number 17 of 20. Sorry, Will, had a phone call and had to catch up. Okay, Kitty Coo. If you like pina coladas and you like walking in the rain, his beady little eyes are following us. Question number 17 of 20. The correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, is D as in dog. Yes, he will write you back. He requests that you put a minimum amount on his prison inmate account through the pay system, so he can buy himself the stamps and letter writing material to write you back. But he will respond back if you write to him. If you want to write to Robert Lee Yates, you can write to him at the prison he's at. Look him up online. You need his inmate number, and then you can start writing letters back and forth with Robert Lee Yates. I don't know how much of a communication you're going to get from the man, because he certainly hell won't talk about his crimes. So he won't talk to anybody about the crimes that he actually committed. Question number 18. Damn it, there's another one there. During Robert's time in the U.S. Air National Guard, his fellow pilots reported Robert for strange behavior while at the Yakima Air and Ground practices. What did they report to superior officers? Was it A, asking if anyone knew any hookers? B, talked about killing female pilots? C, talked about raping female pilots? Or D, asked where Barry Morphy was? Remember Sizemore, but I never knew that was it. It was. Record D, of course. Kitty Kid's going A, question mark. Lemon Pie's going with C. Gianna Marie and Meep are going with A, as also is purple. E, offer to suck their toes. Tamara, you're kind of close to a side note, for Robert Lee Yates, he did have a shoe fetish, not feet, but shoes. He had a fetish about shoes. Every one of his victims, the hookers, after he dispatched them, he murdered them and did whatever he wanted with them. After he dumped them, all of them were found barefoot. Their shoes were found later on. I was thinking of writing an inmate, but you have to provide your address, so it's not going to happen. Open up a P.O. box. Didn't Kemper like shoes? Kemper liked feet and shoes. He liked them both, especially small, petite shoes, and feet. He had something for petite feet. Don't know. Asked about getting a hold of Jersey Shore DVDs. Burritos have a shoe fetish. I don't know about Jerome. That's a good question, though. He was definitely a sick, twisted fuck. So, sorry. All right, question number 18. The correct answer to question number 18 is B as in boy. He talked about killing not one, but 3 females who were in the U.S. Army Air National Guard. He talked to other guys that were sitting around, and they were all drinking beer or whatever the hell they were doing after their weekend of warrior practice. And he talked about wanting to kill those pilots that he felt were demeaning and degrading to the actual U.S. Air National Guard, and that they needed to get the hell out of the service altogether. And he talked about, I could kill them. And they reported this to superior officers, and nothing ever came of it other than it was entered into his personnel record. But this is after he's actually retired. He was receiving his full pension, and then he had gone back. He had re-enlisted into the U.S. Air National Guard. Ballsy while in the Guard, yeah. They taught it, and there were several that came forward afterwards during his actual trial. Talked about he wanted to kill actual the females. Oh, I guess two of them are additionally were co-pilots. The other ones were pilots. The other ones are co-pilots, but he wanted them gone. All right, question number 19. You got a fast car. I got a plan to get us out of here. What type of sports car did Robert Yates actually own 2 of that were identical to the smallest detail? And I mean identical. And everything, the same types of tires were on both of them. Everything was exactly the same. Was it A, a Camaro, B, a Corvette, C, a Mustang, or D, a Trans Am? What a sweetheart, says Reichard. Kirikou, left hand RN, Linda, friendly talk. Oh, all going with B, and friendly talker is going with D, and lemon pie is going with A. And the Flintstones mobile. And Gianna Maria going with A. Hey man, that's a bitchin' Camaro. Where'd you get it? My parents drove it up from the Bahamas. Wow. Really? The Bahamas are islands, you idiots. That's a Dead Milkman reference for the song Bitchin' Camaro. Mr. Frosty is going with C, a Mustang. Pebadot has to be D or A. And Rykart, yes, that is Tracy Chapman's Fast Car lyrics. You got a fast car, I got a plan to get us out of here. Lemon pie, you hit the nail on the head. Purple's going with B, bitch and Camaro, bitch and Camaro. I ran over my neighbor. Bitch and Camaro, bitch and Camaro. I think that's on the Bleeza Bubba album. I'd have to look. I have it behind me on the shelf. Which one is the cheapest, says Meep? It all depends. If you're talking about Concord, restoration of all of them, I mean, you can get, up there in some serious money for an original Camaro or Corvette, or maybe a Cheryl Kelby, Cheryl Carol Shelby Mustang, or if it's a Trans Am and it was one of the ones that was used in the movie Smokey and the Bandit, I mean that price could jump through the roof. But the answer to question number 19 is B as in boy, Corvette. He had two identical white Corvettes. One he barely ever used, and all he did was hand wash it and then wax it and push it back into the garage. And the other one he used to drive around. And he eventually ended up selling that Corvette because he murdered one of his victims in that car, and DNA evidence was found in the car on the door panel and in the carpet. Even after he cleaned it as much as he could, he still had, there was DNA evidence in that car that linked him to one of the last victims, and that is how they figured out, oh my God, that's where the DNA is. It was his car, and they started putting the whole thing together against Robert Lee Yates. But two identical white Corvettes. Things are bad. I'm eating Miracle Whip on my ham on ham and Swiss. Oh, that's not bad. That sounds like a ham sandwich. Miracle Whip on ham and Swiss. JDR. Good evening, JDR. All right, question number 20 of 20. Which one below is an actual nickname the mass media gave to the crimes of Robert Lee Yates? Was it A, the Spokane Slayer, B, Hook'em Killer, or C, the Grocery Bag Killer, or D, the Harbor Slayer? Which one from below is an actual nickname that mass media gave to the crimes of Robert Lee Yates? I'd like it for a minute. It's high fructose corn syrup and soybean oil. Miracle Whip. That Miracle Whip is, what do they consider it? Like a salad dressing, isn't it? I don't know. I don't eat Miracle Whip. I don't even think we have any in our house. Ham sandwich though, with ham with Swiss sounds good. Me going with A, lemon pie, Mr. Frosty, purple, and Pippin are all going with A. Rykar's going with C. And so is JDR. Which one from below is the actual nickname the mass media gave to the crimes of Robert Lee Yates? I eat real mail. LOL, not miracle. There's a difference. You eat like Best Foods, it's Best Foods on the West Coast. In the Midwest and going back east in the United States, it's Hellman's. Same exact product. They just put different names on it. I grew up forced to eat Miracle Whip, so sad never knew what real mail was until I was 20. Wow. Sherry says, yes, Will, it's salad dressing. Some people like the tanginess of it. I mean, not me. All right, question number 20 of 20. The correct answer is C as in cat, the grocery bag killer. Robert Lee Yates was one of the nicknames that they gave him was the grocery bag killer. Just real, not Miracle Whip. Miracle Whip just sounds off. Hmm. All right. So, how did you do tonight? This is completely optional. You do not have to give yourself a letter grade. Some people like to do it, some people don't. Yeah, some people don't even bother to keep score. We are only playing for fun and entertainment. Grading yourself is completely optional. I'm just thankful that each and every one of you were here tonight to play along. Why don't they make a tangy mail? I'm sure that you can make a tangy mail lemon pie if you make it from scratch. You could add lemon juice to it, more lemon juice, because that's basically all mayonnaise is oil and eggs. And then you could add lemon juice to it to make it tangy, or take it out of the actual jar itself and add lemon juice to it or lime juice. Thanks to inflatable Biden, Mr. Frosty. Little Linda B, doing better each week. Sherry A, barely. Got the same this week as last week. A D. Fun time, Will. Thank you. You're welcome, Purple. All right. So, of the 20 questions that were on tonight's trivia, how many did I know before putting this together? I knew exactly 10 of the 20 that were on tonight's trivia. So I would have gotten myself a solid C if I would have been taking this trivia night myself. All right, next is cold case missing case. All right, tonight's missing is Michelle Marie Newton. Was last seen on 4/2 of 1983. She was abducted by her non-custodial mother. The top picture is what she looked like at Michelle Marie Newton looked like in 1983, and the other one below it is what she would look like age enhanced to 2024. Details: the likelihood is very great that Michelle Marie Newton has her name has been changed, and she may not even know that she is missing, because her non-custodial mother took her in during a custody dispute and left the area. Law enforcement believes that because of tips, Michelle's mother never left the U.S. in 1983. She fabricated a story to gain assistance with an underground network of other mothers across the United States. That she fabricated stories to gain assistance and help in her vanishing with her daughter. This is the only known picture of what her mother looked like in 1983 that you see here. They do not have another photo of what she would look like age enhanced from that point, if she's even still alive. Um, Made up rather even stranger stories about her own extended family, and even stranger ones about her family. In 2005, the warrant for her arrest for non-custodial interference and kidnapping were mistakenly dismissed in 2005, but they quickly got back to court and they got them reissued. All right, going back, I want you to take a good look at the picture you see there, the one that's labeled now in 2024. And if you know anything about this, the phone number is also in red there, who you can call in any tips for. Again, she may not even know that she was born Michelle Marie Newton, and because she was just a young child then, and her mother and her went on the run, and they don't believe that she left the United States, that she disappeared through an underground network of other mothers who helped others in situations like this. The FBI is not saying who, according to their files, actually was what this group is called. It just says that she gained assistance by convincing them that there was other things taking place in this, and they helped her most likely, disappear. They may have set her up someplace else where they changed both of their ID, their names, and they just went about living their lives. But that is what Michelle Marie Newton would look like in 2024. All right, and this is the only case. This one again, the same phone number is at the bottom there, but this one comes to us from the FBI's missing and endangered people, and it's the only case for this week. I bet she told her they were in danger her whole life. Could have been. We don't know. I've come across quite a few stories that are similar to this, where either the father took the child, or the mother took the child, because they were losing in a custody situation, and they felt that they needed to get away with the child and go someplace else and start over. This is not the only one story case like this. 502, did they go missing from Kentucky? I don't know. That just a number that is on the FBI's file that for missing and endangered people. So 502 is Louisville area code, but that's where they disappeared from. Wherever 502 is, I guess that would be the sheriff's department who's in charge of the missing case. What a shame. She's probably maybe clueless as to what all her mother has done. Yeah, but her mom, they believe that she may have been going through a mental health crisis at the time, because she made up some of the most bizarre stories about not only the father's family. Look at my notes here. Not only did she make up bizarre stories about the father's family, but she made up even stranger stories about her own family. She that she was telling other people, and this is why they were going to give full custody to the father, as opposed to and let the mother just have visitation supervised. I believe it was what they were going to give her, but I didn't actually write that down. But she came pick her up, and poof, she left everything behind, all the furnishings, everything. They said that if there were clothes missing, it had to be very little for both the mother and the daughter, and they just vanished. But she may not. Again, she could have changed her name to, Clarissa or something, and convinced the daughter that her name, has always been Clarissa, and that people may have called her by a nickname, when she was younger. Strange stories, yeah, stranger stories. That statistically, when it comes to kidnappings and abductions of children, stranger danger has always been overhyped. Children are 3 times more likely to be in danger from someone who lives in their own household as to the stranger out on the street. And for abuse, they're 50% more likely to be abused by a step parent as opposed to somebody, outside, like at a park or someplace else. Oh no, bizarre stories don't sound good. I hope she's out there living a good life and doesn't know versus the worst scenario. Yeah, Sebastian's case is stranger. Sebastian Janikowski or whatever his name. Yeah, but it happens a lot. So just remember, next time you hear a story about somebody disappearing, there's a lot of missing people out there in this world. A million people a year disappear in America. A million. I mean, 90. I think it's close to 90 some percent are found. Within a short period of time. Either they decide that they don't want to live there anymore and they've moved on, to something someplace else, better opportunities for work or whatever, whatever it might be. Relationship ended, so they just pick up and move. Somebody who used to live next to them reports them missing, or the landlord comes to collect the rent and they're just gone, and all their shit's still there. You know, what do? And they file a missing persons report, and then 8 months later they find out they live across town. Blood is blood, no matter what. My opinion, I've seen plenty of adopted children go back to their blood parents when they turned adults. Hmm. True. Is it for the better though? Some families are absolutely just messed the hell up, and you can't fix them. You add in drug addiction or some kind of substance abuse issue in there, and that can be generational in some families. And going back, I mean, at least while they were maybe in foster care or someplace else, they had a chance to break that cycle. Even harder when everybody around you is doing the same thing for generations. Yeah, aging out of the system. That's something that we have to deal with. Eventually. When it comes to services for my son, eventually he'll age out of the system to the point on his 18th birthday. So that's the sharp dead drop line right there for services in my area. Generational abuse. Yep. And where do you go if you don't have anybody in your family or friends? You end up if you grow up around something like that, a generational abuse and neglect. Who you ain't gonna have any. Maybe you don't have any friends outside, and maybe their family over here is doing the same thing that your family's doing. When you get to that point, and you want to break the cycle. How do you break the cycle when everybody is doing the same thing? But hopefully, someone, the photo, age enhanced photo looks like someone they know, from the Louisville area, if that's where area code 502 is, I think Kitty Q said. But it strikes a bell, or somebody sees this stream later on and says, that looks a lot like the lady who lives, in the trailer across from me, or lives in the apartment or the condo down at the end. And she might have state driver's license and everything else, and she went to high school and college and everything else as a completely different person, and her mother has been a recluse, at stay at home or whatever. We don't know what the heck happened after 1983, but the FBI doesn't believe that she left the United States. That both of them are here somewhere, and you can hide. The best places to hide sometimes is in plain sight. Don't act weird. Just move and start over. You're hiding in plain sight. It's tough, Will. Yeah, it is. You can pick your friends, but not your family. Isn't that the absolute truth? You definitely cannot pick your family. Love them or hate them, they're yours. For anyone at all, life is the best life, and surrounding yourself with only the positive. Do that for yourself. It's a great point, Pippadot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up tonight's trivia. I want to thank everyone for coming and hanging out with us tonight to playing trivia. I hope that everyone has a terrific week ahead. And Rycart, you stay safe out there in those roads. There's crazy people out there. You never know what idiot is going to come up alongside of you next. Well, lately I'm losing parents killing their children, so hopefully she had loved in a decent life, right? But everyone, thank you again for being here. You all have a terrific week ahead, and I hope to see you again soon. Phoenix is wild. It's the wild, wild west. Night all. You all take care. Until next time. Bye.